Good morning. Good morning and welcome. I am terribly sorry to break up all that networking. Nothing like food and good conversation to start the day, so welcome to this Rising Star Breakfast, and a special welcome, obviously, to Superintendent Dr. Beth Schiavino-Narvaez, who will be up here to talk about the first 90 days in her tenure as the Superintendent of Hartford Public Schools. So we're delighted to have her here this morning, and she will be up here shortly for the main presentation. I want to thank Hartford Stage, Mike Stotts, and everyone here for hosting us this morning. A couple of people I heard said this is their first time in this building, so we are delighted to bring you into one of the great assets in this city and in this region. I will deliver my soliloquy on to be or not to be at the end. That will be at no additional charge, so I hope you'll stay with that. I want to thank Andy Bissett and Marlene Nipson and everyone at Travelers for being our corporate sponsor this morning, and again, the Hartford Current and the Fox Connecticut Media Group for being our media sponsors. And hats off to the Current for a great 250th gala celebration last week and celebrating what is, again, one of our most important assets here in the region. Come on in whenever you, this is not late theater, don't worry about it, just keep coming in. We're not holding anybody up on it. It is my pleasure to introduce Mike Stotts, who's the managing director here of Hartford Stage. Mike is one of the great leaders in this community. He's been a great friend professionally for all the time I've been here. As you know, this company, Hartford Stage, has won, I think it was 10 Tonys for Gentleman's Guide to Murder, and I will allow, he will certainly promote Hamlet, but I will say, having had the pleasure of seeing the performance, I highly recommend it. It is an extraordinary tour de force, and hope if you haven't seen it, you will be here. So please welcome to the stage Mike Stotts, the managing director of Hartford Stage. Mike.
Good morning and welcome to Hartford Stage. I'm so delighted to have you all here in our home. Thank you, Oz, for giving me a couple moments to say a few words to you. As many of you know, we've been going through some pretty extensive renovations here, and I hope that you don't use this opportunity as your only opportunity to come to Hartford Stage, but to come here more frequently and to see our shows. It's not widely known that Hartford Stage is the leading provider of theater education programs in the state of Connecticut. Last year, we served over 20,000 students throughout the state, bringing arts-integrated programming into the schools, bringing thousands of students to the theater to enjoy an arts enrichment program on our stage. We do a lot of after-school programming, and with our, when we adopted the programs of the Hartford Children's Theater when it closed a few years ago, we are now serving over 1,000 students with training opportunities in the theater. And in Hartford alone, we're partnering with over 35 schools and reaching 4,200 students a year. While we're mostly known for the 6 or 7 shows that we do on this stage, education is a significant part of our mission, and we strongly believe that an education that includes the arts will improve learning in all subject areas. It's so appropriate that this event take place on the set of our production of Hamlet. As Oz just said, it is arguably the greatest play ever written, and the production that we're doing right now is probably the production of a lifetime. Over 2,500 students will get to see it, including many from Hartford Public Schools, and over 12,000 other individuals, I hope all of you as well. In addition to my position here as Managing Director of Hartford Stage, I'm also the co-chair of Hartford Performs, which is a partnership between the arts organizations in Hartford and Hartford Public Schools and the Board of Education, and we very strategically place arts programming in all of the public schools here. So on behalf of Hartford Performs, Hartford Stage, I want to thank you all for being here and for this very important program, listening to our superintendent talk about her first 90 days here in Hartford. Thank you so much.
Mike, thank you very much, and thanks for hosting us this morning in this absolutely superb theater, and congratulations to you and everyone on the board that led all the renovations here in the last several years. There are a couple of, we're going to try something a little different with promoting future programs. At the registration desk, I believe we had a save the date card on some things coming up, so we'll get through a couple of things quickly. I just want to make sure that everyone knows that November 4th is Election Day. So please, not only can you celebrate that all the ads will be over, but please do vote. That is the purpose of those ads, and this is a critical, certainly gubernatorial election, as well as a number of key House and State House and Senate races. You'll see up there an effort that we'll be continuing to work with CBIA and other organizations as we turn the corner in 2015 in the legislative session around this 20 by 17, making Connecticut an ever more hospitable place to invest, start, expand a business. We do want to promote a couple of organizations events that are not ours. On the 6th, Achieve Hartford's annual Spelling Bee, Community Spelling Bee, will be at over at the Theater of the Performing Arts at the Learning Corridor. You'll hear from Eric Daniels in a minute on Achieve Hartford. Winterfest, believe it or not, is right around the corner on November 28th, the great skating rink down at Bushnell Park. And I do want to just take an effort to give shout-outs to two very important events that occurred earlier this month. One is the Northeast Utilities Hartford Marathon. I think it was over 12,000 runners, a significant economic impact to this city and this region. So hats off to Beth Schluger and everyone on that team, and also to Joe Marfugi and everyone at Riverfront Recapture for another exceptional regatta. It was a gorgeous day, a gorgeous Sunday in October. I forget what the total estimate of people were, but you had lining both sides of the river, and just brought a lot of energy. So to Joe and everyone there, hats off. Do want to call your attention to the November 20th insurance market forecast. This is the third one that Susan Winkler has led, and it is an effort to make sure that we keep focusing and promoting Connecticut as the center of as the insurance capital of the world. And I believe we got a clip, right? So we're going to let the little teaser here.
Historically, I think the industry has been focused on ensuring bricks and mortar type exposures or actual people and their lives and so forth. And as we move forward, we're talking about less bricks and mortar and more bits and bytes. We are an industry that, while often thought of as being old-fashioned, we are in fact intimately connected with the future of the United States, the future of the state of Connecticut, and quite frankly, the future of the world. Whether it's education on the part of the Insurance Information Institute, or whether it is the mission of private insurers making and pioneering into new markets, is to make sure that people and businesses have the products that they need to allow them to pursue their dreams. The future is bright. This is a growing industry. It's an industry that is filling an increasing number of niches for specialty products out there, that this world that seems to be moving in a million different ways and moving at a record pace will need in order to manage the risks of the future. We look forward to having you join us on November 20th in the nation's insurance capital.
Obviously, I need help on stage directions here. That's why Stott's didn't give me any help on that one. Dr. Hartwig, Bob Hartwig, will be the keynote speaker, and I just want to put a plug in for Susan and High School Inc. Obviously, a very important part. Those of you who are not familiar with this is an initiative that, among other companies, Travelers has led, and is an important feeder, if you will, of young people looking at the industry as a career. I want to put a plug in for the United Ways campaign. That annual campaign is coming to a close here shortly, and want to make sure that we're all taking a look at. If you haven't had the opportunity to contribute to the 2014 campaign, we all take a serious look at it. This, as we know, is the single most important comprehensive fundraiser for the community to support a number of very important social services and educational organizations here in the city and the region. We have three new Hartford investors to introduce this morning. One is Amazing Celebrations, and if the owners are here, if you could stand, it's going to be very difficult to see you, but I can see you, I know you're here, and we'll give you a round of applause. There are 3 of you here this morning. Amazing Celebrations from Glastonbury, Nancy and Michael Goldenstein, if you're here. Where are you? Actually, I can't see you, so if you're here, I'm delighted. Company Wellness Advisors in Marlborough, Gene Stratton. Gene is here. Rich Brown will communicate that round of applause to them, to Gene. And the McMichael Group in Windsor, Jimmy McMichael. Jimmy, are you here? Jimmy, good, delighted. Thank you very much. We have one new regional investor, and I know Tom Giardini is here, and that's the Associated Construction Company here in Hartford. For the past 72 years, the company's provided general contracting and construction management services to businesses and residents of this area. Their portfolio includes commercial, industrial, educational, healthcare, and broadcast data facilities. They've completed over 100 projects in Hartford, and the firm has a long-standing commitment to the financial and social well-being of this area. So with us today from Associated Construction Company are Tom Giardini, Principal, and Joseph Jankowski, Principal. Gentlemen, I know you're here. Where are you? Let me give you a round of applause. Thank you very much. Thank you both. And we have one new strategic partner who's also that'll also be a founding partner of the Connecticut Health Council, and that's Marketing Solutions Unlimited in West Hartford. It was founded in 1991 by Heidi Buckley, and it is a woman-owned business that provides state-of-the-art offset and digital printing solutions coupled with complete fulfillment and direct mail capabilities. And with us today, there's a team here, and I haven't had a chance to meet them. I hope I get a chance after the breakfast this morning. With us today from Marketing Solutions Limited are Heidi Buckley, the president, Linda Halligan, Vice President of Sales, Stacy Remus, Director of Marketing, Tom Burns, Sales Representative, and Ken Aggood, Business Development Manager. Where is that team? Are you here somewhere? Where are you? There we go. Thank you all very much. We greatly appreciate the support from all those new investors and look forward to working with you. I'm going to introduce Eric Daniels here in a second for a few words on Achieve Hartford. Is Nadine Francis West here? I didn't get a chance. Nadine, are you here? All right. So let me just take a minute. This is the first time we've had a chance to recognize Nadine publicly for the extraordinary service that she's provided the Alliance for well over 13 years, starting with our antecedent organizations, over 15 years with our antecedent organization at the former Greater Hartford Chamber of Commerce. I thought it was appropriate when we could compare calendars to recognize you here today, not only for the service that she provided the Alliance on a number of fronts, but particularly in the leadership role that she played in making sure that Achieve Hartford, the local education foundation, was launched successfully. She put a tremendous amount of time in what was over a 2-year period, working with national organizations in Washington and in the region, worked closely with Steve Adamowski at the time to make sure we understood what his principles were, and was instrumental in gathering a large number of leaders in this community to make sure we understood how a local education foundation would work best here. So I just want to say to Nadine, for all that you've done, I'm delighted you're here this morning, and please join me in a round of applause to thank her for all that she did here for the Alliance over these years. And I should say she's also on the board of the Stage Company. So, and if you're interested in making a contribution to the development of the Stage Company, you can either see her or Mike Stotts. With that, let me introduce Eric Daniels for a few words on Achieve Hartford. Eric, partner at Robinson & Cole, has been the chair of Achieve Hartford from its outset, has played a major role in making sure that the foundation plays that very constructive friend of the school system role that was anticipated at the beginning. So please welcome to the podium Eric Daniels, the chair of Achieve Hartford. Eric.
Thank you, Oz, and good morning, everyone. Achieve Hartford was founded 6 years ago. I hope that many of you know about Achieve Hartford, but I suspect that some of you don't. So what is Achieve Hartford? Achieve Hartford is the primary vehicle through which the business community supports the ongoing reform of the Hartford Public Schools. And the role that the Metro Hartford Alliance and Oz and Nadine played with regard to the creation of Achieve Hartford really must be acknowledged with thanks. Last year, in our 5th year, Achieve Hartford undertook a strategic planning process. I haven't turned around, so I hope our new mission statement's on the screen in front of you.
It is.
So we developed this new mission statement. That'll give you a little bit more of an idea of what we do. And we developed the new tagline, Strong Schools, Strong City. And we truly believe that strong schools are one of the things that help make a strong city. I hope many of you receive our weekly electronic newsletter, Education Matters. If you don't and you'd like to, see me after the program, give me one of your business cards, or stop by our information table in the lobby where you could also pick up a summary of our strategic plan. So what would the reform report card look like at this point in time? I think we'd give it an incomplete. A lot of progress has been made, and I certainly don't want to minimize that, but a lot of work remains to be done. But I'm here to tell you that Achieve Hartford is optimistic about that remaining work. And what are the causes of our optimism? Well, there are several. First, the community has embraced this reform. And that's important because, as Paul Hill, a noted education reform scholar, has stated, while reforms can be launched internally by a school district, they must, over the long term, be sustained externally by the community. And here in Hartford, we've achieved that dynamic. Second, the community has warmly welcomed and embraced our new superintendent, Dr. Narvaez. And if you haven't met her yet, you will soon see why. Her passion and her energy around this work is unbelievable, and her commitment to every child is real. Third, a spirit of partnership and collaboration now exists between the superintendent, the mayor, and the Board of Education that frankly hasn't always existed. Finally, the superintendent's transition report itself is a cause for optimism. That report, which Dr. Narvaez will summarize for us shortly, is an honest assessment, a comprehensive look at the overall health of the district, as Mayor Segarra put it, performed, I think, significantly on this occasion by an outsider who undertook the work with no pride of ownership with regard to the reform, and therefore was able to undertake a critical analysis of what was working and what wasn't working. So the transition report tells us what the remaining challenges are. Now what? Achieve Hartford has some simple advice for Dr. Narvaez in that regard. Take advantage of the warm welcome that you have received. Take advantage of the partnership that you enjoy with the mayor and the board, and be bold. Take bold action. This work is too important to be anything less than bold, and know that Achieve Hartford and the business community is here to support you in your efforts. Thank you.
Eric, thank you very much. And I know I just also want to acknowledge Paul Holzer, the Executive Director of Achieve Hartford. Paul, where are you? Thank you for all your leadership. We appreciate it. So with that, we'll move now into the presentation by Beth on the first 90 days. And to introduce her formally is Marlene Ipsen, who is known to everyone in this room as knowing that she is the CEO and President of Travelers Foundation. And the opportunity to work with Marlene on the launch of Achieve Hartford and a number of other initiatives in this city is a real joy. Her commitment, her energy to this whole process, particularly to public education in the city, is without peer. She has served in a variety of capacities over the last several years as we have gone through the various transitions, in some cases challenging transitions on superintendents, and in getting this reform traction, sustainable traction, that we'll hear about more in a few minutes. She served on the advisory committee that was part of the selection process that led to the hiring of Beth, and it is, a real pleasure to be able to work with her. Please welcome to the podium Marlene Ipsen, the CEO and President of the Travelers Foundation. Marlene.
Thank you, Oz. Good morning, everybody. Ooh, that's really good. This is great. Like in advance of the superintendent, it's like being in a classroom. Terrific. I really am so thrilled to be here this morning for all the reasons you've heard. Travelers has been a big supporter of the education reform and improvement plans here in Hartford for the past several years. Overall, we provide, Travelers and the Travelers Foundation provided about $21 million in community support nationally last year, and nearly 50% of that was dedicated to educational organizations and initiatives. And here in Connecticut, about $8.5 million of all of our giving stayed here, and $4 million was directed to education. But since the reform started, since 2008, we've provided more than $1 million here in Hartford to initiatives directly related to supporting the educational reform plans of the superintendent and the district, including the formation and ongoing operations of Achieve Hartford, which we are all thrilled to be a part of. We do still have a senior executive, our executive vice president, Julie Trowbridge-Dillman, serving on the Achieve Hartford board. So it's been a great connection for us. And I think Eric and Paul and the board there have just done a tremendous job of fulfilling that initial concept that Dr. Adamowski had of a critical friend to the district. So we've been thrilled to see how that has evolved. Some of you may also be familiar with the Travelers Edge program, which is a career pipeline program. Edge stands for Empowering Dreams for Graduation and Employment. And we have that program here in Hartford, in St. Paul, Minnesota, and also in Baltimore, Maryland. And the idea is to help grow a more diverse talent pipeline for our industry. We have envisioned a sort of pipeline from middle school through bachelor's degree completion. Here in the local area, we have partners from High School Inc. and the Pathways Academy of Technology and Design, to Capital Community College, UConn, and Central Connecticut. And we've just seen tremendous results. We've been able to tap into a whole new talent pool for travelers, and it's been very, very exciting. So we are doing that with many other partners in the community, and we thank everybody who's been involved in that program for helping build the talent base right here at home. Talking about our new superintendent, as Oz mentioned, I had the honor to participate on the selection committee. And I have to say, it was an incredibly well-run professional process. It was very, very well thought out, very well managed, and very excited to be a part of, and especially exciting to have it come to such a terrific result. To have Dr. Schiavino-Narvaez here in our community, I think is going to be something we will all be very, very pleased with in hindsight a few years down the road. Dr. Narvaez comes to us from Montgomery County Public Schools in Maryland. She has a wealth of experience as an in-classroom educator and administrator, and she's going to tell you a little bit more about herself and her story. If you want to see the official bio, you can see that on the Hartford Public Schools website. But what I want you to know about Dr. Narvaez is that she has characterized herself as an equity warrior, and that's important. Those of you in business know how important it is to have a vision, a sense of purpose, and a clear, strong brand. And here's a woman willing to put herself on the line by declaring her commitment to ensuring that all of Hartford's children have an opportunity to thrive, academically, socially, positioning every student for future success. And that is so critical to all of us here in the business community. It's critical that our region has a diverse talent pool prepared to contribute as engaged citizens. And on the human level, it is so important that we are inclusive and open. Success for Hartford's children means success for all of us in every community in our state. But I know it can be done here in Hartford, and I hope you will carefully consider Dr. Narvaez's plans and how you can help support them. And now, please welcome Dr. Beth Schiavino-Narvaez.
Good morning, and thank you for being here. It's really a privilege to address you this morning, and I want to do a little teaching, and we try to encourage our teachers to be more facilitators of learning and not sages on the stage, but I really have no choice this morning but to be on the stage in front of you. I first want to give some special thank yous to Oz Griebel and the Metro Hartford Alliance, to Marlene Ibsen and Andy Bissett from the Travelers Company, Eric Daniels and Paul Holzer from Achieve Hartford. Our hosts today, Hartford Stage and Mike Stotts, the manager, and then our many partners, supporters, and friends here today. In all my years in education, I've never seen anything like the incredible partnerships that exist with Hartford companies to provide internships for our students, to serve on school advisory boards, and to make personalized, real-world learning accessible to kids. And I look forward to deepening those partnerships. All right. There we go. So, whenever a new leader comes into town, there's a natural tendency to want to know who the person is, what he or she intends to do, and most significantly, whether that person has the goods to deliver on his or her promises. The answers to these questions are what form the basis of our relationship with that leader. They enable us to engage in common goals and to take action on the challenges we face as a community. Many of you have heard me share my story, and I think it's important for me to continue to share it as it frames the reasons why I'm here and why I'm called to this work. I've been influenced in this regard by Marshall Gantz, who's a lecturer in public policy at the Kennedy School of Government at Harvard University. And he teaches about the importance of storytelling in inspiring vision, passion, and action for positive change. The first idea here is that each of us has a story, a personal story, the story of self, where we came from, who we are, our inspirations, values, hopes, dreams, and aspirations. We also live a daily narrative that tells the story of who we are together, the story of us. And when we bring our personal experiences, gifts, and talents to bear in a shared purpose, we join together in what Gantz calls hopeful action. With a sense of urgency, together we advance our work, meet and conquer our challenges, and deeply serve our students and families. So let me tell you a little bit about my story. Many of you have heard it, some of you have not. And again, I feel compelled to share it with you so that you understand who I am as a person and as a leader. So I was born and raised in Pennsylvania in a small suburb outside of Philadelphia, and always knew there was more outside of that small town and was eager to get out and explore the world. And so after a high school internship that changed my life, I helped a teacher in a classroom and went on to study elementary education, and now 20 years later, I'm still in a field of work that I love, really in my dream job as an urban superintendent. But I wanted to get out and explore the world, and so after finishing college, I was lucky enough to have a Fulbright scholarship that sent me to teach in South Korea. I was able to join the Peace Corps with my husband and be a teacher and teacher leader in the Republic of Kiribati. And from there, I went on to be an educational leader not far from here in Western Massachusetts, as a principal in Pittsfield, Massachusetts, as an assistant superintendent in Springfield, Massachusetts, a deputy superintendent in the very large and vast and diverse school system in Montgomery County, Maryland, with 202 schools, 151,000 kids. And then I landed here, as I said, in my dream job. And I've just been loving Hartford and loving the school system and feel like it's a perfect match. So after I arrived here, I knew it was an essential act of leadership to hit the ground learning. I embarked on an entry process of sharing who I am as a person and a leader with students, parents, teachers, public officials, philanthropists, community organizations, and business leaders. And I listened and learned about their many experiences with the Hartford Public Schools. The notion of learning as strategy is an essential ingredient in any continuous improvement effort. And just like I'm learning about Hartford, the community, and our school system, people of all ages at all levels are also learning about me and about each other. Learning as strategy is imperative as we uncover our strengths and limitations, as we seek to deeply understand the stories of individual students and individual schools, and as we engage in collective work and refinement on our journey together. I also knew I needed to learn as quickly as possible. So I appointed a transition team of national, state, and local education experts to produce a report gathering the Hartford community's views on where we are, what is and isn't working in Hartford Public Schools, and what steps we need to take together to reach new levels of success. The transition report serves to shed light on the strengths and needs of the system, and it was a process steeped in learning, listening, engagement, and transparency, characteristics that I hope will become hallmarks of my leadership here. Through my entry work, I wanted us to start the process of getting to know each other, to build relationships, in order to create the foundation for trust, an essential ingredient in any improvement effort. And while I shared my personal and professional story, I also had the opportunity to learn from our many stakeholders in this community, and I have loved hearing the many individual stories of your experiences with Hartford Public Schools that you shared with me in our conversations. So, these are the 5 areas of study. Our transition team split up into these groups, and the focus areas were on teaching and learning, our core business. They were on organizational culture and leadership, because leadership matters, and leaders create the conditions for success for everyone to do their best work in the system. Operational effectiveness and efficiency, because if our operations aren't running smoothly, we can't attend to our core business of teaching and learning. Equity and excellence, and in that category, I asked them to study our choice process and our experiences of students with special needs and our English language learners. And last, family and community engagement. I then tasked all 5 groups with several overall guiding questions that included looking for the strengths in each area and identifying how those strengths do create the conditions for success that lead to increased student performance, and surfacing the challenges in each area of focus along with ways these challenges get in the way of ensuring that every student in every school thrives. And finally, identifying opportunities and strategies for improvement that we believe will have the greatest impact in the short term and over time. And in order to accomplish this complex endeavor, the team connected with about 1,700 Hartford individuals in a massive outreach effort that included personal interviews, focus group meetings, community forums, surveys, a review of data, and dozens of documents. And the report, copies of which we have for you today, contains nearly 100 recommendations. I told the team, don't give me 50 recommendations, and so they gave me nearly 100. And although we have that, I have to say we emerged from this process with a sense that the Hartford Public Schools and the Hartford community have significant capacity to take on tough challenges and be successful. So the next section I will talk about outlines the cross-cutting themes from the transition report and gives shape to the collective power of the many voices we heard, what Gans calls the story of us. These themes, the story of us, embody what is in the hearts and minds of the people of Hartford. These are the topics that kept coming up over and over again across the different focus areas. It's the story of what our community feels is important, what needs to be called out, and what needs to be addressed. The first theme is a shared commitment to educational equity and excellence. This was a near universal aspiration that all students have high-quality educational experiences no matter where they go to school in Hartford. It's no longer enough that more students are succeeding now than ever before. Hartford schools must be a place where every student and every school thrives. We cannot make progress or change the paradigm without facing some of our tough realities, some of the hard truths. While we must acknowledge how far the school system has come, as evidenced by the fact that we proudly claim some of the highest performing schools in the country, the tough reality remains in the fact that we also have some of the neediest schools as well, and very few schools fall between those two extremes. We must also honestly attend to the hard truth that while 31% of our students are English language learners and students with special needs, the overwhelming majority of them are concentrated in the 10 neediest schools. How is that for equity and excellence? The second theme links closely to the first, the absolute urgency to improve Hartford's neighborhood schools and overall performance. We must attend to the schools with the greatest needs in a systematic, stabilizing way that will put them on the path to accelerating student achievement. This theme speaks directly to the variability of performance between our high-performing magnet schools and our neighborhood schools, which have greater rates of chronic absenteeism and suspensions and disproportionate numbers of English language learners and students with special needs. We see only 11% of our English language learners in our magnet schools and only 29% of our students with special needs in our magnet schools. Furthermore, this theme speaks to the fact that despite our great progress, including double-digit gains in reading and math, only half of our students read proficiently and only a third of them are proficient in math. And also, this illustrates the notion that variability of performance exists both among schools, but also within schools, with disparities between our non-resident, our suburban students who attend Hartford Public Schools, and our Hartford residents within our magnet schools. And among the things I want to explore in this area, as suggested in the report, are ways to streamline the school choice process to make it user-friendly and less inclined to underrepresent English language learners and students with special needs. I also want to conduct a comprehensive facilities study that takes a look not only at the conditions of our buildings, but also their enrollment capacity. We have some schools that are still in need of a permanent home, while others are housed in buildings that are in desperate need of renovation. The first two themes that I just shared with you capture what the community is most concerned about and believes should be our greatest focus. The remaining four themes give us a sense of how to make these hopes a reality. This third theme is meaningful engagement, effective communication, and relationships with all stakeholders and with each other in the Hartford Public Schools. This includes creating a welcoming environment for families and other partners within schools and a collaborative temperament among schools rather than a competitive one. At every listening session I conducted with members of the community, I closed with the same question. What advice do you have for me as the superintendent so I can successfully lead the school system? And the most common response was to continue to reach out and listen and learn, to continue to be visible, approachable, and to engage those around me. We have so many partners and supporters who stand by ready to help, as evidenced by your attendance in this room today. And this work will take all of us collaborating together to truly make a difference for all of our students. The next themes articulate the fact that there's a role for everyone in this work. And so this fourth theme speaks to transformation of central office. And that means specifically that we first establish a mindset that the central office exists to serve our schools and to help principals grow as instructional leaders so that they in turn can effectively support our teachers and our students. There's a need to make sure that support is coordinated across offices so that we're not operating in silos and in a fragmented manner. And in addition to the need for clarity around the roles and responsibilities of central office leader and what it looks like to partner with schools for improvement, there's a need for overall focus, clarity, and coherence across the system. Only then will we be able to truly develop a deep knowledge of our students, their strengths, needs, and interests, and of our schools, in order to serve all of them well. The type of central office transformation I'm describing, I believe, will equip us with the strategies to address one crucial hard truth that the transition report shed light on: a lack of focus on our core business of teaching and learning. The next theme relates closely with the one I just shared, and transformation calls for attention to people. We're a people development business within our core work of education. Therefore, it makes sense that this next cross-cutting theme is talent development and leadership. 70% of our budget is in people in our school system, so we need to continue to invest in their ongoing growth and development of our more than 3,700 employees if we're going to get better outcomes for kids. This builds on the theme that I just shared before of that notion of a cascading system of support and learning. Central office leaders need to create the conditions for school leaders to do their best work, and in turn, school leaders do the same for teachers. We need to make sure that adults are continuously improving their practice in order to increase our learning for students. We also need to make sure that we're matching our supports to the strengths and needs of each of our schools. So we were encouraged in the report to create an accountability and support system that's holistic and uses multiple measures and not just test scores so that we can effectively differentiate our support for schools. And leadership continuity is essential, not only in sparking change and in the next wave of reform, but in accelerating and sustaining improvement. In the past, and in a lot of ways to very good effect, we've attended to our structures and our resources. We've concentrated our efforts on having really great, new, exciting school design options for children and families. These options were necessary and produced great results, but they're not sufficient at this point in time to take our district to the next level of success. This particular stage of our journey necessitates a unique set of interventions. Interventions that deliberately focus on our process by attending to the core business of teaching and learning through improving and supporting the instructional work of teachers and the leadership of principals. Instructional leadership is a key lever for change. Because of the direct impact that principals' leadership has on changes in instruction and on teacher peer-to-peer collaboration and learning, and the indirect impact that they have on student learning as a result of changes in instruction, research has found that principals are essential actors in student learning. Research has also found, though, that urban principals spend only 8 to 17% of their time, or an average of 3 to 5 hours per week, on instructional leadership. Quite frankly, those statistics worry me, and we have to absolutely change that. So we at Hartford Public Schools have begun to take action by engaging our principals and central office leaders in the learning of the principal support framework, which is from the Center for Educational Leadership at the University of Washington. It's a tool that represents the best thinking of educators from across the country about the support needed to advance principal leadership focused on improving teaching and learning at scale. Through our work, we're aiming to address 3 areas: a shared vision of principals as instructional leaders, a system of support for developing principals as instructional leaders, and that focuses on our portfolio director role and making sure that their responsibility is to provide the professional development opportunities for our principals to grow in their instructional leadership. And third, making it possible for principals to be instructional leaders by perhaps streamlining some of the operational and managerial responsibilities that principals currently have so that they may concentrate more of their efforts and time on instruction. The final theme, leverage governance structures to strengthen citywide collaboration and shared commitment, could be the toughest of all. It's just a fancy way of saying that it takes a village to raise a child. It calls upon Hartford's educational, governmental, political, and business structure, that means you, to join forces in an extended and concerted effort to achieve the changes proposed in the report. I must also share that we at the Board of Education have already invested in a strong superintendent, mayor, and board partnership. And I'm very proud of the investment that the mayor and the board have already made in our partnership and their leadership, and in our ongoing strong relationship. And because that foundation will be absolutely necessary to implement some of the harder recommendations that are listed in the report. So you must be wondering where we go from here. You're certainly asking yourself what I'm going to do with all of this and what we are going to do with all of this information. Obviously, we can't address all of the recommendations at once. So one of my goals for this year is to sit down with the members of the Board of Education and the Hartford community. And we've started a series of community forums to engage in more conversation, to prioritize these great recommendations and findings into a focused plan of action. The next phase of this work is what Marshall Gans calls the story of now, building on the collective commitment of our community to take our students to higher levels of success and craft the next chapter in the story of the Hartford Public Schools. So this captures up here, this diagram, what I believe we've been doing over the past several months and what we'll do in the next phase of the work. So the entry plan was about creating that shared story, understanding who we are as a community right now in this moment. And as I continue to engage in conversation with our community around the story of us that we find in the transition report, we're looking to build shared commitment, which will then lead us to that focused plan of action through a shared structure and shared strategy, which then leads to the most important part, shared action. As we engage members of our community in reflecting on the content of the transition report, and as we roll up our sleeves to craft the next chapter together, I've condensed the lessons learned into what I like to call my 3 big bets. The high impact strategies that I believe will yield the most leverage and improvement over time. And so while we're still planning, I know that these 3 strategies will be central to our work moving forward. Learning as strategy, just as we began this process, this is a necessary mindset and practice for evolving and continuous improvement. It starts with our students and focusing on student-centered learning and paying attention to what they actually learned and not just what we taught. And it's also essential for our adults that we're paying attention and giving our adults in the system an opportunity to continuously learn and improve their practice. And it's about evaluating what we're doing and assessing, again, like we did through the transition report process, what works, what doesn't work, and how we should continue to refine our strategy. The next is leadership at all levels, starting with organizing ourselves across the system, including our roles, responsibilities, and resources to support instructional leadership and our core business of teaching and learning. And last, but certainly not least, knowing the stories of each student and each school well in order to serve them well, which necessitates a high degree of cultural competency, effective family and community partnerships, and multiple ways to assess progress and performance at all levels so that we can match our supports to each student's unique strengths and needs and each school's unique strengths and needs. Only then will we be able to accelerate learning and progress, decrease and eliminate variability of performance, and make great leaps towards educational equity to ensure that every child thrives, every school is high-performing without exceptions. That is my aspiration and my goal. I want to once again speak to the incredibly strong partnerships that exist between Hartford Public Schools and the business community in providing resources, personalized learning opportunities, your advocacy, providing mentors, your service on school advisory boards, and internships that help our students acquire the skills they need to enter the world of work and improve their academic, social, and economic outcomes. The transition reports cites those relationships with the business community and organizations like the Metro Hartford Alliance as a central strategy in enabling our students to see the direct connection between education and career success. With the support of our partnerships, we have students who last year built a wind and solar-powered turbine that brought electricity to a remote village in Nepal. We have students who are designing and constructing low-cost prosthetic limbs for use in war-torn third world countries. The wealth of experience and resources that you pass on to our students maximize the opportunities to change the trajectory of a young person's future and to ensure that companies have a reliable, homegrown workforce pipeline that they can tap into. My ask to you today is that we expand those experiences to each of our schools. We know that the partnerships work very effectively to the benefit of all: businesses, the city's economy, the school system, and most especially our students. And as you can see, the needs are real, and there are multiple ways in which members of the business community can participate. There's a place and role for everyone. Thank you for the privilege of speaking to you this morning and for your faith, support, dedication, and investment in our students. Please join me now in writing the next chapter in the story of the Hartford Public Schools. Thank you.